We'll get started, and as more people come on, that's just fine. So thanks everybody for being here today. My name is Kyle Helgen. I'm the public image coordinator for our region, which are zones 25B and 29 through the middle part of the United States and 4 clubs in Canada. And glad to have you here for our monthly public image webinar. Like to real quick just share my screen if I could, so you can see the other members of our team that are, some of them are here and some of them are just on the screen today, but there's the members of our team, and we're here to help you with anything public image related that you might need. We could act as a resource, as a sounding board, as a expert, well, some of us can, and be there to help motivate whatever it is you need. This is the 2021-22 team, and we have a couple changes for next year. The good news is the vast majority of the team is going to stay the same. So we'll be able to work with you and help build on the relationships we've already created this year. The bad news is that Stephen Smutney from the Chicago area will be leaving our team, and we're going to miss him a lot. But I guess the good news along with that is we're fortunate to have Hunter Byington from the Naperville, Illinois Rotary Club stepping in, and he'll do a great job filling Stephen's shoes. And you'll be hearing from Hunter a little bit later on as well. We're excited to have these webinars as it's a way to have regular contact with all of you, being if you are district leaders, club leaders, or anybody that just stumbled around a public image webinar on a Thursday afternoon. But this is a way that we can deliver information that's topical and useful, and it allows us to go deeper into certain topics than if we were trying to do an information dump at a training. Number one, not everybody that would be able to be there. And number two, you may not necessarily care to have all of that information dumped at you at once. So each month our webinars try to do a couple different things, maybe share an example of how public image working together with membership in the Rotary Foundation help increase our success in all areas of Rotary, or showcase a best practice or some ideas that you can take away, and then have a deep dive into a particular topic. Our upcoming webinars, we have one still on the schedule, and that's June 23rd, which will be an end of the year celebration. We'll put the links in the chat later on so you can register for that. And then we are working to see what these webinars look like in the next Rotary year, if they're going to be solely public image, or we're going to combine them with membership and foundation to really give a broader, here's how everything works together. So more information about that probably by mid-June. In between now and our next webinar, the International Convention will be taking place here in our region in Houston, basically the 4th through 8th of June. And for anyone going, or anyone that just wants to go to a party, the our zone rendezvous is Sunday afternoon, June 5th at the Houston Club from 4:30 to 8:30. You can register for that at the zone website, which is zones 25B-29.org. And you do not have to be registered for the convention in order to attend the party. So if you just want to come down and hang out with us from wherever you might be, or up, I suppose, if you're in Southern Texas, but come on for that Sunday, or just come for the whole International Convention. I promise it'll be a good time. A couple other announcements real quick that we'll unshare the screen for. If you're a district public image chair or a district governor, want to remind you that the regional public image citation will be due here June 30th or so, or at least you have 45 days to complete some of those activities. More information will be coming out in the next week as to how to submit what all you've done and everything from that perspective. And while you're at the zone website, that zones 25B-29.org, registering for the zone party at the International Convention, make sure to check out the Public Image Resource Library on that website, because it's got plenty of good information that you can utilize in whatever your role is. Lastly, I mentioned our team. We're here to help. If you need us to assist with anything, idea generation, team meetings, training sessions, whatever it is, that's what our job is. So we're trying to be as proactive as possible, especially in 22-23, but we're not mind readers. So feel free to reach out to us as well. And before we get going on our first section of things, at the end of the session, just a reminder, we will have time for some Q&A. So if you have questions or anything along the way for me or any of our team that'll be presenting, feel free to put them in the chat box or send them directly to me in the chat, and I'll ask them either during or at the end. Whew. So with that, what we're going to do today, the focus of the deep dive will be public image is everything. And we'll have help from several of our public image team members. But first, we thought it'd be good to share some helpful suggestions to you as the new Rotary year is right around the corner. During the time we spent at different president-elect training seminars throughout the region this spring, we made a concerted effort to make sure we were giving presidents-elect easy, actionable ideas that they could take back to their clubs and implement those to enhance their public image in their communities. So we figured, why not share those all with you today? So we're going to take a couple minutes to go through the top 10 tips, or at least 10 tips, because these probably aren't the top ones. We probably forgot a few, but the 10 tips for a successful public image year. Again, these are specific tactical steps you can consider for your club or for your district or anything in between to elevate your profile in your community and within your membership. So we'll go through these, and just because I know somebody will ask, we are recording this session. We will send out the videos afterwards to everyone that registered, and you will also get a copy of the PowerPoint slides at that point too. So let's take it away with our 10 tips. And first on the list, Patrick Harrison. Let's go with number 1.
Hey guys, first of all, it's the why. The most important thing you can take away today is making sure that you share your why. Why are you here today? Why are you a Rotarian? Why are you so passionately involved in your community? Share that with your community. Share that with your members. And also remember to share your why of your club projects. A lot of times Rotary clubs just do the what. And really no one cares about the what except what time to show up and what's going on. They want to know why you're doing it. I promise you that we have seen this. If you continue to share the why, you will have a massive reach and a lot of interaction within the community.
Absolutely. It's about telling our story and encouraging our members to tell their story.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Gretchen, how about you? Show us the next one that I just showed on the screen early. Go for it.
So team. So it's tagging on to Patrick's why. It's also empower. There's no I in team, obviously. So you need to make sure that you get every member within your club excited to talk about the Rotary story, what you guys are doing within your club that benefits your community, what projects you're doing. Because honestly, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have cheerleaders on your team. So, and make sure you're empowering.
Yeah. Strength in numbers, right? So let's, Hunter, since you're the newbie, you get number 3.
Oh, goody. Well, the thing you got to do is make a promotional plan. A goal without a plan is a wish, or another way to put it is hope is not a strategy, and we hope we're going to do something out there. So when you work with your team, that's part 1. You've got to have your people to talk to. But taking it all the way down to the club's level, you've also got to include the president, the membership group, the foundation, and the community service folks. They've all got to get it on the calendar, because what good is it if it's a promotional plan if it's not written down? Putting it on the calendar makes it happen and get your team focused. No calendar, no plan, no promotion.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't do a lot without a plan. And so that's how you need to create a plan on how you're going to promote the club. Absolutely. Sean Barry, from up here in my neck of the woods, where it's sunny here, but hailing 30 miles away. What's our next tip?
Current, compliant, and consistent content. Make sure all of your promotional materials, including websites, social media, print media, and signage, have proper and current branding. Consistency helps people remember your club. Check Rotary's Brand Center for more details. And if you're unsure if it complies, please reach out to us.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, we're not the branding police. We do know a fair bit about it and are happy to help, but it's important, just like anything in marketing. Let's make sure we're being current, compliant, and consistent. I guess I get number 5 because Scott McLaughlin, one of our other assistants, is experiencing some vertigo today, so he wasn't able to join us. But it has to do with our biggest priority, ending polio plus, and it's to hold a polio awareness event or a program within your club or community to educate and inspire your members and the greater community about Rotary's signature cause. Their pride will grow, and they'll be able to tell others about Rotary and our efforts in helping eradicate a disease. And remember, World Polio Day is October 24th. So planning in advance for that, it's a great time to have that event. And so, Sean, let's go back to you for the next one.
Have active and interesting social media. Social media is a free and easy way to promote your club and your activities. Make sure your club is posting engaging content so people know who you are and what you do. Social media is not going away. Embrace it.
Absolutely. And it's not just a matter of having it, right, Sean? We got to do something with it. So, Hunter, what should our members be doing with our club social media?
Well, I think one of them is they got to go ahead and set up their own Facebook account. And then they've got to connect to the club. That's going to be one of the ways to expand the message. And then there's also they've got to read it and click on it, say that they like it. But the other thing that club members seem to forget that we want to get them to do is share it. If they don't share it, nobody knows what we did. So we need to increase that reach and with those posts.
Absolutely. Yeah. The more our members do things, the broader our reach will be, which is all good. And Gretchen, not only can our members participate in our club social media, but what else can our members do, maybe not in front of the computer screen?
You can wear the Rotary shirt, the Rotary uniform, as we say. Give out free discounted t-shirts to your members. But wear it everywhere. I was a bad person today. I didn't wear my nice pretty pen that we got as our pick people. But yeah, make sure that everyone has a pen when they're going out, at an event, have name tags, have the name showing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And don't just wear it at the meetings, wear it out in public so other people start looking at it. I think I am in next here. So let's talk about teamwork. Again, not just team within our public image group, but throughout a club or throughout a district. Don't create individual silos. Work with others on the foundation team, in the membership part, in the avenues of service or the projects team, like Hunter mentioned earlier, so we can identify the stories to tell and coordinate with them to tell those stories, to engage members, to engage the public, and to make sure the rest of your members are thinking about, when we're doing a project or whatever it is, let's make sure that we're keeping publicity in mind as well. And Patrick, why don't you take it home with number 10?
We have to have fun. I mean, we all know that, right? So the more fun we have, the more our members want to come back for more. And then the rumor gets around the community that the fun place is the Rotary Club or the Rotary events. Look, we all handle very serious stuff. We're helping transform the world one project at a time. And that's important, but you can always do serious stuff by having fun. So make sure that when you look at all the stuff you're doing in your community, even internally at your club, that there's always fun, value for your time, and inspiration in everything you do. Have fun.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick.
We're having fun here, right? We're having fun today.
I hope so far. I mean, we breezed through that, but hopefully it gave you a little bit to think about. And so there's a list of 10 things you can do to increase your public image. I'll keep them on the screen for just a second. And these are things you can do within your club, within your district, within your community. And remember, now there's 10 things there. And there's a lot to each of those, especially when you're creating a plan for each of them. But if it seems overwhelming, think about it this way. If you do 3 of those things, you're probably going to have a better and more visible public image than you did last year. If you do 6 of them, you'll have a great year. And if you do 9 or all 10 successfully, you'll take my job sooner than later. So that's the easiest way to think about it. But really what it comes down to in the moral of the story, pick a couple, make a plan, do them successfully, and then build the momentum to do more than that. So with that, we are going to move along into our deep dive for this month. And as a reminder there, we'll have time at the end of this for Q&A. So along the way, if you have any questions or anything, please let me know, and I can ask them along the way or at the end. So our deep dive, again, if you've been here before, as I kind of explained earlier, this is a way to go deeper on a particular topic of interest, because rather than trying to tackle this and everything else when we're together in person, it allows us to spend more time on a topic without overloading you. Our deep dive this month is titled Public Image is Everything. So what does that mean? Well, throughout the year, you may have heard us talk about the importance of public image in Rotary. If we look at Rotary as a business, our product is service, or the impact we make on the people and world around us. We maximize that impact through two ways: action and money. The more people we have involved in our service, the more impact we can have. It's as easy as that. And the more money we raise, that means the more grants and projects we can do, which also increases our impact. So that's why membership in the foundation are so important. When we engage our current members and attract new members, we're increasing the amount of people doing service as Rotarians and with Rotarians. And the more we raise through the foundation, again, the greater the impact. So where does public image fit? We're the storytellers. Public image is the key to people developing an understanding of who we are and then creating an emotional response so they want to be involved, giving their time, energy, expertise, and money to help make the impact we can as Rotarians. So that's the impact of public image. And public image is a very specific phrase here. It's not marketing or public relations, but it's public image. Well, they're all pretty similar. There are some differences. I looked up the definitions a couple days ago, and marketing can be defined as the action or business of promoting and selling products or services. So if we're simply trying to promote ourselves to the public, that'd be marketing. But it's more than that. And then you have public relations, which is the maintenance of a favorable public image by a company or other organization. So that's really telling the public what we want them to think of us, which is part of it, but it isn't the full picture either. Public image is the way a person, group, or organization appears to other people. So I think that means that marketing and public relations are part of public image, as are concepts like branding and our brand, which can be a demonstration of the core values and principles we have and how they're expressed. But when you look further, public image, because it's how it appears to people, we can look at that as both external, the public, and internal. It's not only considering the way that the general public looks at us, but how we appear to our own members. So if public image is that broader term that's all encompassing and creating our image as seen by everyone, doesn't public image need to be a part of everything we do in Rotary then? We need to constantly think about how we are creating a good image so people remember us and develop and then maintain an emotional relationship with us, because then, like I said earlier, we can increase our impact. So today, we're going to talk about how public image is everything. Our team members will explain how each area we talk about is important to consider when creating a good experience and perception of us as Rotarians, share some tips to consider to make sure you're creating an appealing environment, and then share a couple good and bad examples they've seen over time. Of course, not sharing any specific club names or anything with any of the bad examples. As a reminder, once again, text me or message me if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start with Patrick and talk about the vibe of a club overall. So Patrick, why is the vibe of a club? Well, what is it? Why is it important? And why is it important when creating a good perception of a club?
Vibe is everything. And we all know that, right? And what's great about a vibe is, let's say there's members of your club that don't know Facebook, don't know media, don't know how to fix certain specific things with public image. Every single member of a Rotary club can work on the vibe of a club. You know, you only get one impression in today's world, especially people that we want to be members of Rotary. And so when you walk into a Rotary club, we've all done it. We know immediately, we can tell within a couple of minutes, sometimes even seconds, if this is going to be a fun vibe, if this is going to be a connective vibe, or this is going to be a get me out of here vibe. I think we've probably all experienced a little bit of both. And I want to implore and really encourage every single person on this call and that's listening to this. Take some time next time you go to your Rotary Club. Go as a guest. Ask yourself, right when you walk in, is this friendly? Is this engaging? Is this a welcoming environment? Or are there some things that we can improve to make sure that all the guests that are coming in feel that great vibe? You know, public image, you could be the best public image rock star. You could have all this campaign, best social media, best media presence. But if you're not delivering what you're selling, there's no point, right? So we want to make sure that vibe is just incredible. It's a vibe that you never want to leave. You want to come back for more and more and more. And it's pretty easy to create.
Absolutely. And that's what we'll talk about in just a second here too. And without getting into that meeting, you know, the location, food, speakers, because Gretchen will talk about that. But if we want to have that good vibe going, if we want to create that good vibe that people want to be a part of us, what are some things a club or a district should consider to ensure it's appealing to its members and to the public?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure the second you walk in, there's someone greeting you. There's someone with a happy smile, someone that's connective and having a great day. You don't want to put someone that we always have the moody people in our club. You don't want to put them as a greeter, but you want to make sure that the second someone walks in, no matter if they're a new member or someone that's been in your club for 30 years, because you never know, someone might be having a bad day. They need that pick me up. So you always want to have someone greet you. Then when you walk in, I think this is something that a lot of Rotary clubs don't think is important, but to me, it's everything. If I walk into a club and I see a 1980s banner and the badges look like they haven't been dusted since 1976, and, you know, I'm immediately going, wow, okay, I'm walking into something interesting. Whereas if I walk into a club that the members are excited, they're wearing their badges proud and everything looks really beautiful and all the branding is master branded, which I do think is important, I'm going to go, okay, this club takes pride in what they do. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, what do you mean? I still have the old badges. I'm not trying to say that your club doesn't take pride, but these are some things that innovators in our community look for when they walk in. That's part of their vibe, is seeing, what does it look like? What does it feel like? And I also think we all know the members that might be in a bad mood for the last 10 years or 20 years. We might want to encourage them to either pep it up and really try to help them, encourage them to be kind, or maybe put them in a certain part of the club so they're not interacting with the new members. Because, you know, we're going to talk about our bad examples. I do have a bad example that I'll never forget. And it literally, I'll just go right into it.
Yeah, let's go right to it here.
Yeah, let's go right to it. I walked in and I was the speaker that day. And I sat in a chair and a guy came over to me. He said, get out of my seat. And he said it real blunt. And I'm a New Yorker. So I was like, oh, are we going to go toe to toe here? And I looked up at him and said, are you kidding me? And he goes, you're in my seat. You need to get out. So I went straight up to the president and I said, if I wasn't a guest here today, I would, first of all, leave. But second of all, never come back to your club. You have a culture problem in your club. And he took that to heart and they've fixed it. They've worked on it because I've been back and it's actually really cool. I've also been to other clubs, including my own. My own club does a 5-minute of connection before every program begins. That's on Zoom or in person. And what we found, the feedback is guests feel immediately connected to, so they go into little small groups and the guests feel immediately connected to the members even before the program begins. And they always come back for more. And I've also been to clubs where it's like the church, you know, where you get up and you shake hands with everybody. Everybody gets up and they say, hey, how are you? And they take a couple minutes to say hi to every single person in the room. And it's a big club. And so we all know those clubs that we wish we were members of, you know, those clubs that are not your own club. You're like, oh man, I would love to come back here more and more and more. As long as you focus on inspiration, as long as you focus on value for your time, and as long as you focus on a vibe that is welcoming and is positive, we can guarantee you not only your members are going to come back for more, but it's going to spread around the community and people are going to show up for it.
Absolutely. And I think you said something good there. Walking into your club every now and again saying, what would a guest see here?
Yep.
You know, and if it's the inside jokes or even just a it's good every now and again. Well, how many times does a president of the club, when they start the meeting, introduce themselves so that people know who they are, or just, hey, this is the time, especially if you're having a special meeting or something, this is the time where we do this, which is, and explain it so people aren't going, what in the world is going on right now? I think all those things help create that vibe and make people feel more comfortable. So thanks for sharing those. Go for it.
Don't just go to be a guest just to be a guest. Ask those tough questions we just talked about. And I promise you're going to have a transformation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patrick.
Yep.
So now let's talk a little bit more about some of those specifics in the meeting, the content, the location, the atmosphere, food, speakers, all of that stuff in 7 minutes. Here to share some thoughts is Gretchen Noman, one of our assistants in Iowa. Gretchen, why is having an engaging meeting, factoring in all those details I just mentioned, why is that important to the image a club has and the perception it creates?
It's all about the experience, kind of what Patrick said about you want to have your current Rotarians, but future guests, have that experience and have that memory stuck with them of why they were at that club, what made them come. Whether it's you have your meeting at the same location all the time, or you have a different spot, maybe every other meeting, to have a fun social or something that's engaging those members, keeping them coming back every single time. And as we all know, food gets people to come, drinks get people to come. Knowing what your club members want for a meeting, what's going to make them, really want to come. And then just the content, speakers. I mean, you don't want a speaker that's going to be boring, reads right off the slides, has no interaction with your, Rotarians and your guests there. Make sure that you have a Q&A session for them. Make sure that you're keeping track of the time for the speaker. I've sat through plenty of times that the speakers, read right off the slides. They don't adhere to the time limit. Make sure that your speaker in advance knows what their time limits are, and is the speaker content what your club members want, and make sure that maybe it's not just your club members, but open up to the public, because obviously then your public's going to know what your Rotary Club is wanting to promote around your community.
Sure. And with that, the speaker thing, be respectful of the speaker too. Get them on at the time you say you're going to get them on, and give them the time you said you were going to give them as well. I remember being at a meeting one time and I was speaking and kind of said, hey, so when am I going to get on? Because I need about somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes. Yep, plenty of time. We're just going to be done right at 8:30. But yeah, shouldn't be a problem. And I'm looking at my watch, and all of a sudden the president is still having breakfast at 7:50 and then 7:55. And all of a sudden finally starts the meeting at 7:59, and they go into the business part of things. And I'm like, yeah, well, now I have to rush through what I put together here. And that's, so it goes both ways, but having that engaging meeting is great. So what are some suggestions you'd have for people so their meetings can be as engaging as possible, so everybody, not just guests, but the members, come away with a good feeling, good perception of the meeting and the club?
Yep. So it kind of goes back to one of the points that I touched on earlier on the 10 PR points was empower your club members to help you come up with your programs and who you want to have come speak and where the location is, whether that is you come up with a program committee or you just have a few select individuals that, get selected every single month. You have a whole plan for your year of who's going to be in charge of this month's, weekly speaker and location. Another thing is making sure that, everybody is thanked. So it goes to Patrick's, point of making sure everybody feels welcome, when they get there to the meeting, but also when they're leaving. And, take that time and make sure that you're sending out the thank you to the speaker, but, people that helped you specifically within your club, or maybe it was a guest from, the audience that helped you with something. So that way that they know that they're appreciated and, that they want to help out.
Sure. Yeah, that all makes, I think that makes really good sense. And I like the asking other people to take part in making the meeting experience as good as possible. And I think it helps too to get as many people involved in the meeting, because then there's more people involved and the energy is going to be higher too. So what is, in your experience, I mean, I know we could share stories for several hours among the group of about 40 of us about good experiences and bad experiences at Rotary meetings we've seen. But Gretchen, what's an example or two you've seen that either clubs could emulate or stay away from?
I mean, emulate to where they could follow with is really that whole empowering thing, making sure that you get your club members involved. And that's meaning taking the time, asking what they want to hear, and having them select those topics and have them introduce that speaker, get that speaker or get that program, make sure that they're just a part of it. That's a huge thing that I know in my own club, I've really tried to make sure that is done and is passed on. And the thing to stay away from is if you don't get people involved or if you have that boring speaker. I've sat through one here about 2 weeks ago that it was pretty boring, and he talked for 45 minutes. And I think by the end, we all don't even remember what he spoke about, and you don't want that to happen by no means. So just make sure that, it's truly something that is going to be beneficial to the people that are there in attendance to speak and listen to.
Absolutely. Hey, side note before I add on, it was good to see you 2 weeks ago at your club meeting when I spoke at that. I'm just kidding. That wasn't
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I think one other thing there would be, you talk about getting other people involved, and I've seen clubs where the president stands up there, calls a meeting to order, does the reflection, makes every announcement, this, that, and the other thing. Nobody else talks in the meeting. It's just human nature that you kind of lose focus on that person. Have if you're doing highway cleanup, have that community service person make that announcement. Or if you're doing something to encourage donations to the Rotary Foundation, have a foundation chair, have different people coming up to make those announcements just to break the flow and to keep things moving there as well. Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks, Gretchen.
Yep.
Let's talk. So another way we can talk for hours here. Let's talk about the web presence and visual identity of a club. And here we're actually going to have our two of our website and just web experts, Sean Berry and Hunter Byington, both talking to us here, because frankly, when I put this together, I couldn't slight one for the other. So Sean, we'll start with you. If we want to give people a good or we want people to have a good perception of us, why is our web presence so important?
When potential members overhear a conversation, see a sign or a promotional banner, or see an interesting event and so on, the first thing they do is grab their phone and they search for your club. Most of us and potential members have one with them at all times. You want to make sure you have a presence on the internet with the website and social media. The bare minimum a club should have is a landing page for the public to learn about your club. The page should include pictures of your activities, since most people like visuals, but not pictures of you sitting around a table eating or drinking. A brief description of your club and what you do for your community and around the world. A calendar with current events and social activities, and a join us form.
Yeah, I think those are all good ideas. And it's certainly something that we want people to be able to learn about us. And the way we all work at this point is we check it out online first. And I don't know how many times I've gone to visit other Rotary clubs if I'm traveling, and I make the decision somewhat on which one has the most up-to-date website, because that's probably going to be the most engaging club. So Hunter, going along with Sean's comments, why is it important to then have a consistent messaging and brand working in lockstep with a up-to-date web presence?
Well, I'll go back to a story real quick of something we just did with several clubs, in particular in 6440 and also in your district. We found that the clubs did marketing. They put the word out. They got people to show up at their website. An interesting thing, we had 200 people that we sent to their website. But the sad thing, the surprising thing, was by not having a up-to-date web presence, not having some of the things that Sean just hit upon, we had 200 people, unique visitors, and not a single one of them said they wanted to come to lunch and see us. You want to know how important a web presence is? You've got to not only think about our old guard that we all make fun of, who we know we've got, but it's the young guard that we're trying to get to join us as well. And those folks have got to see what Sean was talking about, a calendar that looks like something action-oriented is happening, projects on there, things that they need to know about, that they can come join and talk to us about. The other thing is just the pictures, talking about that web presence there as well. A lot of people have what I call family pictures. You know, everybody lined up or in a row and almost stair-stepped. And those are the pictures that people see. We've got to do better than that. We shouldn't be doing family selfies, but rather we should do pictures that show our clubs in action. Even if it's given scholarships, get up there and congratulating and handing them something and talking about it and looking like they're engaged. So web presence is very important, not only on your website, but it also works for Facebook. Put the same thing on Facebook, on website, and then finally, of course, Instagram. Those are the three that people are looking at, and you need to be very solid in what you look like to the community.
Absolutely. And I think you just answered my next question, which is what are a couple things you suggest Rotarians think about? So I'll have Sean answer that as well. So Sean, add on to Hunter there. And what else would you recommend people think about?
You have to think as a potential member. When they find you online, make sure your presence is engaging and current, meaning keep your site up to date with this year's events, meetings, and activities. Verifying all pages on your site have current and consistent branding. You can write a synopsis of their past presentations and provide a photo that was taken at the meeting. Or for future meetings, have a bio and a photo of your upcoming presenters and try to engage potential members to come check you out. You must keep your site fresh. If you don't have a web person in your club, search your community for web designers, developers, or PR firms and ask them to join your club.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks. And lastly, and again, I'm sure you guys can give plenty of examples on this, but what are some good and bad examples you've seen? And more importantly, what are a couple easy suggestions people could implement right away? Sean?
Being the District 5960 Public Image Lead, I've had the opportunity to go through all of our club's websites, social media, and event media. And I've seen a bunch of rights and some wrongs. The wrongs I've seen have been old Rotary themes, 2 or 3 years old, to clubs creating non-compliant logos, modifying the Rotary Master Band. But I've also seen many clubs embrace my ask to update their materials to the current branding. It's not the new branding anymore. The current branding came out over 9 years ago. As stated earlier, we want to make sure all of your promotional materials, including your website, your social media, print media, and signage have proper current branding. Consistency helps people remember your club and our organization. If you need help updating your logos on your website, there's a video on the zone public image for a club runner. If you still can't figure it out, ask us. We will help you.
Absolutely. And we're not there to just be, the Gestapo. We're there to help. And because we want you to be able to understand what's good and bad, so nobody else says, hey, you got this wrong. Hunter, what's a good example you've seen and a bad example you've seen? Quick.
I don't know if I have good or bad, but just 2 or 3 things to follow up on Sean. One is he looked at all the websites. I want to first pray for him. I'm not sure how that worked on his mental psyche, but when we did that with ours, I wanted to throw something at the TV. It was just really sad. But here's a couple of things I picked up. One, how many websites have an action button? They have a place to click, a call to action for 2 things. One is, hey, I'd like to come have lunch with you. When you look at some of these websites, you wouldn't even know they got together, that they wanted to see people from the community. In fact, you'd never know it. That's number one, an call to action button. Two, a call to action for membership. Join us, which leads to number three. What Sean was talking about is laying the foundation. A lot of these folks who play with their website, I don't know what tree they're in, but there really should be think of the website looking like a newspaper. It's got banner headlines. It says, hey, we just gave $10,000 to somebody. You know, we did something that was important for our community with our high school kids. None of that stuff is up there. You have to dig to find it. And you're going, huh? So starting from the beginning, tying this together, Patrick pointed out, what's the vibe? What do you see when you walk in? Well, what do you want to see when you walk in is reflected in the pictures on the website. And by the way, how many people listening have a YouTube channel? You know, it's not difficult to pick up that iPhone when you're doing anything and take a video and put it up there. It belongs both on Facebook and your website.
Perfect.
I couldn't come up the negative, but I can come up with some things you ought to get doing as soon as we get off
That's
here.
all right. That's all right. And I think we could have taken that 7 minutes and broadened it out into an hour or two session that goes deeper. Maybe we'll do that at some point on the do's and don'ts of online presence, but we'll move on for now just because. And, you know, we've talked about our meetings, our online presence, our vibe. Now let's start talking about some of our other activities and how they can affect the perception our members and the public have of us. We'll start with one of the tent poles, the projects that we do in our clubs. And Gretchen, how do the projects we conduct in our clubs affect the way people look at us?
Well, if you don't promote your project, they'll never know about your club. That's a big pointer.
That's a big one.
But no, when you're promoting your project, I mean, you're pretty much telling your story of Rotary, what your club specifically wants to support, or there's a certain cause like end polio, whatever it might be that you want to make sure that the public knows and your community knows and the world knows that you're doing. So really promoting your projects, I mean, it shows, again, like I said, what your club's all about, showing that you care, what the causes are, what you want to support in that area. So then you have more followers, more people that want to become Rotarians just like you. I mean, it's so huge. You know, I mean, when I joined Rotary 6 years ago, I joined a club that was always known as the check writers. They would just write a check because they never did the PR side of it. And I think I've really changed that side of it personally, making sure that that's the number one thing that we talk about with our people in our community is what projects that we do and really try to promote that out. And it's probably the number one thing that we tell our members, you know, and potential members, you know, that we want them to be a part of what we're trying to promote and get ideas from them. And so then it goes back to the empowering them and keeping them involved as well.
Absolutely. And it's a good way to create new partnerships too, with the more projects we can do and bringing in other people to understand what we are. So yeah, those are all good thoughts. So if we want to do bigger projects that involve the Rotary Foundation, we obviously need member contributions to maximize those. How does the type of project and engaging our members fit in with creating donations to the Rotary Foundation?
Well, I know I'm still kind of new to this, so I'm just going to be honest. You can always add on, Kyle, as this or anybody else on this.
And the disclaimer for Gretchen on that one, this is Scott's question originally, so she had about an hour to prep this afternoon. So
yeah. And I'm still learning in the years of donating to the foundation what it all really means. But to me, what it means, you know, being able to donate to the foundation is how you get your grant money for you locally, but as well as doing your international projects. If you want to partner with 5 or 6 other Rotary clubs and donate to something so huge, you know, example, you know, the Ukraine efforts. I mean, I know our district 6,000 got to go in and do a lot of different things because we had other clubs within our district wanting to support that aspect of it. So the more that you can talk about different projects and the more that your members can donate to the foundation, the more that you're able to give back within your community, but also worldwide.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's telling the story too, where the more we can tell the story of, hey, because of your donation, we're able to make this impact on people, that's going to make people more apt to give. And the other thing is to ask what kind of projects they're interested in. What kind of projects do they want to do? So then they're going to be more willing to be involved and to donate their time, energy, and money to those projects, whether it's a foundation project or not. So absolutely. Lastly, give a couple examples on how projects have created a either positive or negative view of the club that you can think of.
Well, I guess we'll start with the bad. If you're not going to promote it, it's going to flop. Your project's not going to be good, or it's not going to be known. Or if you don't get enough people involved in it, and you just want to, and that's not just people within your club, but if you want to try to partner with somebody within your community, and with that project, and if you don't get them involved and you just say, well, we're doing it this way, that can be truly a negative impact on it. Positivity, flipping that negative over is, empower and make sure that your members are all involved in that project, from the top to the bottom, making sure that if you do partner with somebody, that partner is included in, and that everybody agrees across the table of how that project's going to go, where the money's going to, how you're going to tell the story, what's the big overall picture, and who does it all benefit overall, to make sure that you're telling it correctly.
Absolutely. I love that. And I like the partnership idea there too, because it's bringing more people in, and yeah, it's one of those things. If you're not getting, I think you mentioned, the member participation. Well, if you're doing a service project that you're not getting much participation, you may want to think about, what do my members at least really want to do? Because doing something that they want to do, they're going to tell more people about it too. So yeah, good thought there. All right, now I think I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce the next one.
Yep. So okay, Kyle. So we're going to talk next about the fundraising and social events, which I think you like to do both of those, and how that impacts when people look at us. And so, yeah, talk about that a little bit, and creating the positive perception in our clubs for that.
Well, I think it's twofold. I mean, we want to engage our members, and one of the whole parts of Rotary is fellowship. And if we're engaging our members, we need to give them reasons to interact with each other and get to know each other outside of just a meeting. And that's where social events are so important, and fundraisers for that matter. Finding events that our members want to attend, that they want to put in the work for fundraisers, but that they want to attend. They want to invite their significant others, their families too, for social events, because, a social event in the evening is taking time away from something else they'd be doing. So we have to make sure it's worthwhile for them to give up their time and say, hey, honey, or junior, or whomever, let's go to this. It's going to be fun, and make sure it's fun for the significant other too, because if they're not having any fun, chances of you going a second time is probably pretty minimal. So having events that are engaging, both from the social event side and the fundraising side of things, is going to help increase member participation, member satisfaction. And then from a fundraising perspective, make sure that you are finding events that are engaging for the community as well. So it's not just your own members giving that money.
Awesome. Nope. So, you kind of segued into this a little bit, but what are a couple of things that you would suggest that we all consider to make sure when we are having those appealing events for our members and our attendees?
Well, I think it goes back to like what you were talking about with projects and what we've been talking about before. Common theme is asking our members what they want. If you want to make sure you're having enough social events that they're appealing to everybody. And it's not just, well, we're going to do this in one quarter or, twice a year. And if you can't make it. Well, that makes you not feel very good about things. Or having a small group of people that only plan social events that they like without thinking about the whole. That's not going to get everybody attending either. And the same thing with fundraising events. Figure out what fits into your community, and what are interesting to your members, and do things there. And we have to remember, even in the promotion of these things, we have to promote it as fun. It's not just, hey, come to whatever. No, you want to come because of it's going to be fun, and then have attendees afterwards talk about how much fun they had there, because then the people that didn't go, it's going to be a little bit of fear of missing out.
Yep. Nope. I fully agree there. So what are some good and bad examples that you've seen at clubs in their fundraisers and social events that have gone good and bad?
Well, I think from a social event perspective, and I got a kick out of this, a number of years ago, we had a president in our club. We've had enough presidents that I don't think I'm going to get in trouble by naming a club there. But he was one of those that would make the announcement. He would tell you what the next person was going to be announcing from an announcement perspective. And he said, so-and-so is going to come up and talk about that district meeting. Totally downplayed it. I mean, this was the district conference. This is a 2.5-day event that many of us have been around Rotary enough. There's a lot of effort that goes into district conferences, and they're a lot of fun too. And he just says, Kyle's going to talk about that district meeting. Well, what's the perception there? The perception is, well, that doesn't mean anything, and you're not going to have as many people go. From a fundraising perspective, a number of years ago, I was doing a fundraising breakout at one of the president-elect training, and before I started, this guy from a club was just bad-mouthing their rose sale and talking about how nobody in the club really was engaged, and only like 30% of their membership actually sold any roses, and Well, that's not a great event. Now, the funny part was later on when I said, so what are good things about your fundraisers? And he raised his hand and said, everybody loves roses. And I went, do they? Because you just told me 30% of your club members are the only ones active. Well, how is that going to appeal to a greater audience? So things like that, making sure that you are asking it and being okay with building on an event. And we've talked plenty about fundraising, so I don't really want to go there, but build over time and always look at, well, okay, how could we have made that better? And the other part, and I learned this when I was our club president, we did a monthly 501 club, meet at 501 at a bar once a week or once a month for just everybody getting together socially. And about 20 of our 70 members would come, and it was starting to really irritate me because the other 50 weren't there. And I finally shifted. I said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about who's not here. I'm going to worry about making sure the people that are here have a good experience. And that's when I started making sure that the next week would have somebody that was in attendance talk about how much fun they had in hopes of driving that up. And we did have more success, but it was creating enough ways to get people engaged so they could get to know each other and like being around each other.
Awesome. No, those are all really good points. So Kyle, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Cool. Thank you. So our last section is somewhat all encompassing, and that's the community involvement and profile of our membership. And we'll bring Patrick back to talk about this for a few minutes. So Patrick, how can the membership profile of a club affect the perception a community has of a club, and why is this important?
Really important because you want to reflect your community, right? You want to make sure that if I walk into your club, I'm seeing the community that you're serving. So again, go back to your club as that visitor, that guest. That's one of the best tools you can take away today, because you're going to be able to hear everything we've talked about, and you're going to see the little spots, the successes, and some of the things you can work on, and ask yourself, does my club reflect what my community looks like and is and wants to be? Also, what are your members? Do you have the powers that be of your community? Not only just the political powers that be, but the best teachers, the best entrepreneurs, the best sanitation, the best cooks, chefs. You want the chefs, right, Gretchen? You want that food to be good. But seriously, get the people in your community excited so that they want to be part of the center of service of their community. And that in the next year, you might already have this in your club, especially the smaller communities, but even the big cities like Chicago, Austin, Minneapolis, etc. Fort Worth. I see John here. It's like literally you can make sure that even in your little neck of the woods, in your community, in a big city, reflects the neighborhood that you're in, that you're serving. So I hope that answered the question. It's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does. I lost there's my,
okay.
this is a page break on the script there, and I got confused. So if we want our membership to help elevate the perception we have, what are some things we should consider?
Well, here's a big kicker that I think a lot of Rotary clubs, when they hear it, you see the light bulbs going off in everyone's minds. Are your projects in your community that you've been doing for year after year after year still relevant to the community? This is one of those tough questions you have to, sit back and ask. I'll use an example, and this is no offense to anyone that does this project. It's just an easy example. Imagine you've been doing dictionaries for a long time, like for years and years and years and years, and the local school district just doesn't have the heart to tell you, hey, we've got tons of them already, but thank you so much. Instead, they just take it, they smile, they say thank you. What if you went to the school district or went to your community projects and asked the community, hey, guys, does this still work, or what else is going on? What do we need to help fulfill? What do we need to work on to make sure the community is strong? When the community hears that you're willing to adapt and improv and make things happen, which is what Rotary is all about, it will be the best public image you have in the end that we've talked about. Because when the community walks around and says, hey, the Rotary Club of X, Y, and Z, they solve the problems of the community. They're there for us in times of triumph and tragedy. They're there. That is going to be something that all innovators in the community want to be a part of that center of service. So I really think, ask yourself those questions. What are the projects that we're doing in the community? Are they relevant today? And what can we do to step it up and make sure that we're fulfilling the needs of the community? And also, if you are struggling with the fact that some of your members in the community or some of the community is not reflective in your club, go out to them and say, hey, we want to work with you guys. What do you need in the community? What are your things? What are your passions? Go work a project with the community that is a part of the community that you don't have represented. I guarantee they'll want to come back for more. Also, ask them to come speak at your club as a program and just say, hey, talk to us. Who are you? What are you about? And how can we start being connected more? It works. This stuff works. It's not hard.
And I think that's a very good point, because it's not just, and like you said, the center of the service in your community and going out and asking them, hey, what can we do to help? It's not only going to give your club more ideas where you can be more relevant in the community, but it's also positioning yourselves as the organization that others will come to when now all of a sudden they have a new need in the community and they'll go, gosh, who can help us? The Rotary Club can. And they'll start proactively reaching out because they have that positive perception going, they came to us and asked us proactively. Now we feel comfortable going to them because you've already opened that door. Do have one question that I need to go off script here a little bit. You said the light bulb going off, and Pete Bosch asked in the chat, why does a light bulb going off and going on mean the same thing? But we can.
I have no idea.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, good answer on that.
It's in
one.
my teleprompter. I just read what's in my teleprompter. No, okay.
He also told me to ignore that question, and I said I didn't want to. So can you give an example or two that you've seen that have led to good and bad perceptions of a club in a community?
Well, the clubs that, like, I think we could wrap it up by just repeating what we just said. It really is so simple. If you go out into the community and you meet them where they are, and you meet them where they need help and they need support and they need some inspiration, your club is going to shine. It's going to be what Rotary is. We are the #1 service organization on the planet. We are transforming the world. And people don't know that in North America. So the more we share the great work we're doing in our communities, the better off the community is going to be, because they're going to know the truth. So get out there, get dirty with the community, get your hands wet. That's the good part. The bad part is the clubs that sit back and say, well, I don't need to go out there. The community should come to me. I've been doing things for years. I've been writing checks for years. We can just sit here, have lunch or have breakfast or have a happy hour. And the community that comes, and the ones that don't matter. Well, that is a formula for a dying club. That is a club that will fall at some point. So I strongly recommend it. If you have that in your club, get it out of there, because at the end of the day, it's about who's involved in the community is what matters. And I'll leave with this. Sorry, here comes my cough. Ask your club too, when it comes to community involvement, ask your members through a private, anonymous survey, what are the community involvement projects they care about? Because a lot of times, a lot of clubs will just go, this is what we're doing this year because I'm president. It's like, no, wait a minute. What do we want to do? Because it strengthens the heartbeat of your club and it connects you with the community. And it's a kumbaya. It's a kumbaya. So again, these are simple things that work. All of the things we've talked about today have been proven. They've been tested for years. And that's why we wanted to share them with you today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patrick. And to piggyback on that, it's not just this webinar, but it's other webinars that we've talked about different things from a deep dive perspective or otherwise. We talk about fundraisers. Well, in March, Amber Scarborough, who couldn't be here, and I, we did 45 minutes on effective fundraising and everything that you can go back and watch that video on our Public Image Resource Library webpage, which we'll send a link on. And I think it was in January or February, we spent 15 or 20 minutes talking with Alex Johnson about those service projects in the community and how that can lead directly to bringing more members into the club, because and Alex is here today, but it's a great way to promote your club to the community. So with that, and we've had some questions come in here as well. So I'm going to start going to those, but before I do, if you do have any suggestions for anything we should cover in the future, please let us know, because we're looking, obviously we want this to be relevant, and just because the 7 or 8 of us think it's relevant, it's not necessarily. So please let me know if there's anything you'd like to see us, either a topic or a success story to showcase, anything like that we can highlight in the future. Let me know. So now we'll go on to some questions. I am putting the June webinar link in there right now. So you have that, and we'll send that in the follow-up as well. But Bob McLean kind of mentioned here as well, one classmate of his as district governor used the approach, how can Rotary join you? Which is a great way to get a Rotarian or a prospective Rotarian engaged and own a project. It ties the foundation and projects together, and somewhat like, then he followed it up, Patrick, when you were talking at the end there about, again, how can Rotary join you? What do you want to do? What can we help with? I think that's very powerful there. For the whole team, I'll ask this question. Steve Jansen from Dallas asked everybody, are there any examples, real life or template, of a plan? And Steve, I would assume that you're asking more in terms of like a marketing or promotional plan for the year ahead, things like that. And I see you're nodding yes, so I'm glad I got that one right. Any of the assistants, do you know of a plan that somebody has? Gretchen, hand right up.
Well, okay, the only reason why I know this is, so I'm also an AG in my district, and I just met virtually yesterday with all of my club incoming presidents and presidents-elects and gave them kind of a calendar of events that were important off the Rotary International thing, something that we gave them in their NC Pet stuff that they got in their binders and stuff that we did, but also just a trick of stuff that I've learned within Rotary, and just places where they could go and find information to go look at and stuff. And I know they were all really thankful of it, because it kind of just gave them a timeline of what to expect, when to expect. And I put it in a Word document format through Google that was in a table format that kind of showed them who do they want to get involved within their club as well, who should be in charge of this, so that they understood, don't take it all on themselves, and stuff like that. So I'm more than willing to share that if anybody wants it. So
yeah, if you can send that out, or if you can send that to me, I'll send that with everything. I think that would be good. And does anybody else have any type of more specific, like, this is what we're going to promote when we're going to promote it? Have you done anything like that? Dan, I think you're off mute and leaning forward, so I'm thinking you got something to say from northern Minnesota or North Dakota.
Is there more than one Dan on here?
No, that's you. I'm talking to you.
Nippigan, Ontario. Come on now. Geez, you don't get the prize tonight, Kyle.
Hey, as I said it, I'm like, I'm forgetting the 4 clubs in Ontario here.
Well, actually 5 if you count Rotaract.
Okay.
I do have a question. I'm new to Rotary, just joined in 2013, and it wasn't too many years in with our club. Club members decided, they didn't want to use Club Runner anymore. And so for that reason, we don't have a website anymore. And I'd like to impress upon club members like coming in as MP this year about getting back re-involved. And I think the biggest issue was money. For what we're paying for, they didn't think they were getting enough benefit. So can you just address that?
Sean, do you want to address that? Because I think you said something in yours that I'm sure this is what you'll say now, and I think you're a good person to say it. So go for it.
So I'm getting back to what.
Oh, not Tom, Sean. You don't get to talk, Gump. You talk enough.
Well, the first thing is you need a website. That's the first place people are going to go to. And it looks like you know that. I can understand Club Runner is expensive. There's other places that you can go to get a website. You don't need to have the whole Club Runner attendance and everything else. Whether it's a pre-made Squarespace or all those other ones, or if you just purchase a quick template and install a WordPress website, very easy to update. If you go, I can message you my email address or my website, and I have video tutorials on WordPress on how to edit your website. Very easy to do. You can do it on YouTube too. Also, just how do you edit a website on YouTube, and then find a cheap web host to host it. But that's the first thing is you need a website. Every club needs a website, and of course your social media. But
yeah, and I think you said one thing there earlier, Sean, too. Even if it's just a landing page pointing somebody to the different social media. If your club is updating the social media, you don't have to pay a lot for a landing page, but it's enough that somebody can find you and it points you right to where the majority of that information is for free. Right, Sean? Did I say that close enough?
Yep. Landing page, and make sure you have a contact form or a join us form on that page, so people can get in contact with you without having to, go to a meeting, or hopefully you're at that location for a meeting.
Thanks. Alex, you sent me in the chat a copy of the new Plano West Rotary Public Image Plan. And are you cool if I send this out with everything afterwards? As an example, he's nodding yes, but do you want to take 30 seconds to just give a quick overview of that? And I'm going to share it at the same time because I can do that because I'm the host.
Well, I sent it to you knowing you'd probably do that. We've got a very comprehensive and I will say successful public image plan. And people have heard me speak before, we take advantage of all venues of social media, constant three postings a week on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It directs to our website that we have over 600 unique hits a month on it. But our product that we're selling, anybody's ever heard me speak, is community service. So that's our call to action on everything we do on the web. We also have, as you'll go through, we have 2 public image chairs, and they're involved in different aspects of our plan, whether it's a social media. We also have articles written every week, blogs talking about our service projects. Remember, we do 6 service projects a month. So we always have something to talk about, that what we've done, and those are shared. Our local media accesses those articles. So we usually have an article in the local media at least every other month. They like pre-written professional articles. Then, as you know, we've had a lot of stuff in Rotary, the Rotary magazine, and a lot of the Rotary blogs as well, because they like well-written project descriptions. But it's all a very comprehensive, well-managed plan, and they just put together the plan, kind of packaged together to what we're going to roll out for the end of this Rotary year and the next Rotary year. So you guys all have a copy.
There you go.
Take what you like and don't worry about what you don't like.
Yeah, thanks. Will you just, I'll send this out with the follow-up, but will you just upload it or put it in the chat too? So anybody that wants it more quickly can access it there?
Yes, I will
Thanks.
do that now. Somebody just asked, how many members does your club have? I think we're around 65 now. We're doing the culling. So we've got people exiting, but we have a number of people that want to join. So we'll probably resonate about 65 by the time the July 1st comes. Well, what is it? I guess a week before June 31st, because that's when RI wants you to have all that cleaned up. So I hope everybody's doing their culling, pay up or terminate with bad standing.
Yeah.
How big is Plano, Texas, Alex?
The community, we're
Yes.
around 300,000 people. We actually have 6 Rotary clubs in our community,
Oh,
and our club is 42 years old. Our
Wow.
oldest is probably 75.
Cool. We have one other question here, and then I know some people are starting to sneak off, and I have to run to T-ball, or not T-ball, I guess, baseball, 6-year-old baseball here. Angie Rester from the Milwaukee area asked if anybody's aware of successful inserts in community business journals that raise the awareness of Rotary to business people, which is certainly a market that is a good one. It's obviously a relevant publication. And just looking for any examples of that. Angie, right off the top of my head, I don't have any great examples, but Hunter's raising his hand. I'm going to let him, Hunter, before you answer, because I need to go get one thing ready before I go get my kid and then go to T-ball. I'm going to say thanks everybody for coming, because Sean's the other host here, so they can coordinate from here, but appreciate everybody being here today. And Hunter and Sean, you're in charge now. Don't blow it up.
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
I'll leave Sean to it, but
Well, I should say, Sean, don't let Hunter blow it up.
We did a couple of business ads here with Crane's Business several years ago. We spent probably $10,000 on this over 2 years. The good news is you reach business owners because they have between 20 and 30,000 subscribers. We did several programs with them as well that were sponsored, so it was Cranes and Rotary. But the downside is the people who came to the public programs, for example, we could not convert to come into lunch or participating in Rotary. They were business owners. They met the criteria. They were also a lot of young business owners. But we tried it twice to verify that we couldn't get through to them. And so just to let you know, that's what happened with us. But that was probably 4 years ago.
Okay,
When people actually did subscribe.
Can
I ask you if you were already at the place of talking about the flexibility of attending? Did they know that there was that flexibility in the community service side of things?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we had. I had 10 clubs participate, both in the public program and then in the advertising. And my feeling is, and in talking, Alex has spurred me on into some thoughts on this. My feeling is that people in Rotary or the Rotary clubs advertise when they get around to it, and they do it once a year, or maybe no times a year. And we have an incredible Rotary image, which is why we have this group, right? Our brand. But what I'm finding, at least in the last year of doing things both on television, radio, cable, and in the internet, is that Rotary, its name, gets attention. But how many times have we heard nobody knows what Rotary does? And then you go even deeper into that. And this is what I meant by bringing Alex into it, is I think Alex has awoken, that's a bad word, woken up the community, because people now know what they do, projects, and publicize them. And raising money is number two, not number one, which it is with a lot of clubs. And I think that those are some of the things that turn people off, like what Patrick was talking about, on the people who come to look for a vibe. I think that the vibe, if they've got projects going regularly, and they're drawing in people, whether they're members or visitors or just participants in the projects, and that slowly builds, and in Alex's case, rebuild his membership.
Well, let me jump in, because you keep on throwing the key is, this isn't a branding thing. We're all in business here. Branding doesn't make sales. You got to have a call to action. So what we're not doing is public image on what we've done. We are doing public image on what we're going to do. We want you to do it with us. So when we do our PR, it's got a link. Click this button to help us deliver food to those in need. So business owners say, yeah, I want to do that. We just had a company had 20 employees out with one of our food pantries last week. I mean, we just had 2 bankers show up at our last meeting. Now that's another thing. We don't talk meetings. Nobody wants to go to a meeting, especially in business, but they will serve their community. Everybody keeps on talking about meetings. That makes people run away from Rotary. Talk about service. We want you to serve with us. Don't talk about what have I done for you lately. Talk about what I'm going to do for you tomorrow. Click on this button, sign up for this service project, and help us help the homeless. That's what people resonate with. This is public image, sales and marketing. You got to have a call to action. And that's kind of what we focus on. So if you look at our plan we had, that's call to action on our future projects. But the key is, if you don't have projects, then you don't have anything for anybody to care about. So it comes back to the mission of Rotary, providing service to others, like Kyle said. So to answer your question, yes, it does work for businesses if they're making an impact in their community, which is what we're supposed to do. If you're saying come to a meeting and spend $35 to listen to a speaker, no business owner has time for that. None of us have time for that.
Well, and I'll go back and reinforce what he just said. And Angie, I think you're asking how do we build on this brand we have, and why does it seem like there's an emptiness after people say, what is Rotary? And I think you take what Alex said and build from the ground up. If they look at a club and they see an action club getting engaged repeatedly, what are you doing on Saturday morning? Cleaning the lake, cleaning the neighborhood, whatever that we're doing. Then, and we also publicize that. We have to do something Rotarians are not good at, which is talking about themselves. And if we talk about ourselves, build those projects, but then when we do the marketing, and we also, that's the second part of it though, is you've got to commit to doing it, not once a year when you do a gala, not once a year when you're doing your annual event, your cash cow, but rather every single month saying, let me tell you about Rotary. Then people don't mind coming to lunch to hear about it, or
Hey,
looking
Hunter, we're
around the
different.
table and seeing people.
I don't want people to come to lunch, and I don't want them. I want them to show up at a service project and change their community. And when they're changing the community with Rotary, then they want to be a part of Rotary. I don't talk about meetings. What is Rotary? Meetings does not come out of my mouth. Rotary is, we're going to be helping the poor next week. We're going to be picking up litter in 2 weeks. Go to our website, click our call to action, which is sign up for service project. I do not talk about meetings. So don't talk about the past, talk about the future.
And so, as you can tell, as we finish this discussion up, we've got to get a new vocabulary. And we also have a new, really, approach. I totally agree with Alex. We're caught in a transition of moving from where it was business leaders in a town who would say, yeah, let's get together for lunch and make connections. And then those connections had brought in money and it returned it to the community. And now that was our idea of service. And now I think we're changing that totally around, because if there's going to be a Rotary in 10 years, it's going to have to be what I think Alex described is project, services, and impact on the community.